You know I still believe it. You and me. 'Cause every night I go to sleep, I can see it like a movie in my dreams. Put my face in the dirt on the ground, still I raise up to take back the crown. Yes, you can break my body, but you can't lock the soul of a man down.
Follow your dreams, not your addictions. How we gon' follow our dreams locked in a prison?
And we in here. We out there. Tuned in from here to the streets. Pivotal Perspectives Podcast. That's P to the power of 3. And we blessed. My brother Rashad, what's good?
Oh man, your business around here, man. Shining like 10,000 suns and too blessed to be stressed, my brother. So, my brother Marcus, check me out now. Check me out.
Yeah.
My question to you is, what made you realize that you were going to get a prison compared to the people that you're surrounded by, you know what I'm saying, in prison? Like, what made you really, what opened your eyes?
I know. It took me coming to prison to realize I was vibrating on a different frequency compared to those around me. So I was 19 years old when I started analyzing myself to the point that I became aware of this. It took me being isolated from my friends, isolated from my family, and placed in a foreign, violent environment to become aware of who I really was as an individual. And one thing I did was look around at the dudes who were my age and seeing the problematic situations they were putting themselves in or the associations they were choosing, which caused me to realize my focus was different. My frequency was so different that I was able to look at those individuals strictly for observations as it related to my personal growth and not just mention. Like, I wasn't looking at them to judge them. I was looking at them for observative reasons. I watched dudes make mistakes, listen to the content of their conversations, and relate it to how I conducted myself as an individual. So this helped me become aware of how different my frequency was. But it was kind of like a blueprint that I used to guide myself through this structure called prison. But we're gonna get deep into that next episode. We co-host, so the listeners gonna get a chance to know about us. This episode about you. But before we get back to the Alexander Hamilton, I want to get into a segment we call Pivotal Moments. Now, a pivotal moment is a moment in your life that completely changes your thought process. It can be a negative moment, it can be a positive moment. So we all experience these type of moments too, where it feels like it lights a fire under you. It causes your focus to completely shift. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go and get my pivotal moment first. That's what I'm gonna do. So, all right, I'm listening. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about, and this happened recently actually. There was a moment when I was in visitation. It was me, my mother, my sister, and my nephew, my sister's son. It's her newborn son. He was about, I want to say, 6 or 7 months old at the time. So we were in visitation. Visitation going good. We vibing, we kicking it. And being that I'm new to him, I'm a new face. You know how babies get sometimes where they kind of like whine and shift. They really don't know this individual, so they reaching for their mama. I wasn't feeling no type of way about it, but I understood that. But it was a moment in visitation where he did allow me to hold him, and he kind of like he went to sleep, and I was holding him in my arms, looking down at him. Got my mom, sister, and family, they talking, but I'm just kind of like locked in on my nephew, watching him sleep, and it hit me at that moment, like who I was really holding, because I went to thinking about how before I left the streets, my sister was basically a baby. I was holding her before I left the streets. So for me to be in a position where 15 years later, almost 16 years later, that I've been gone this long and now I'm holding my sister's son, it was a moment for me, and I can't really say positive or negative, but it was a moment for me that was like motivation. Like we was talking about lighting fires. There's a lot of fire under me to stay focused about coming home. Because in this environment, sometimes we get in situations where it can cause us to do something or respond to a situation that can easily be communicated out of. Anything going on around us. But moments like that, I can take and I can use as fuel to keep me on the right path. Like, okay, you know what? I'm going to just let this slide. So I ain't not physically hurt. I ain't losing nothing. So I'm going to just let this slide because I got to get home to my family. Or I got to get home to my nephew because he might need me out there with me. You know, I've had plenty of moments like that. Was one of those moments where it stuck with me. And I was looking down at it because it's like, I don't want to put myself in another position where 15 years pass by again and I'm stuck in here, because sometimes we have a tendency to react on things in the moment. And we're not only hurting ourselves, we're hurting our family members or our loved ones or our wives or our kids, or, you know, so it's like that moment for me, pretty pivotal moment as far as using it for motivation to stay on track whenever the time needed. So that pivotal moment, I found in my memory bank for later. And this is what's crazy about this story. What's crazy about this pivotal moment is the fact that 3 days before this visit, I got into a fight. And this was the first fight I've had in years. Like, I don't put myself in a position to fight nobody. But it's just, he caught me on the wrong day at the wrong time. Who said something disrespectful while I'm trying to do something? I'm handling business. He said something disrespectful, and I responded. And what's crazy is the guy next to me was telling me, like, bro, I see your visitation, but you really want to do something.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
And Rich, not seeing your family, you got these programs, you got these dudes that's looking up to you, bro, you really gonna put yourself in this position. And I just looked at him, and it's like, it hit me what he was saying, but it wasn't registering. And I was in response mode. And of course, I went, we fought, got on the dude, beat the dude up or whatever, and they took me to the captain's office. So of course, you know, police got involved. They took me to the captain's office in handcuffs. And they told me, they was like, okay, what happened? So I told them nothing happened. The guy told them nothing happened as well. But they asked me, okay, well, why you got these cuts on your eye, your face, or whatever? And it was like, he failed. So Captain looked at both of us, and he said, I don't feel like doing paperwork today. Y'all good. Y'all good? Y'all straight? I was like, yo, we straight. And as I'm walking back to the door from this situation, I just shook my head and I looked at the door. I'm like, bro, I ended up communicating to him, like, bro, this could have been avoided. Bro. Like, you know, we didn't even have to go through all this, because it was a situation where, because I'm very critical about my space. There was a situation where he was coming in my area, and I don't like people coming in my area. Tried to tell him to stay out of it. He was like, the dorm is everybody's area, and it just went from there. But, you know, it still was a situation that didn't have to take it that far. But the reason I bring that situation up is because just like that, we respond to situations not thinking about our family or loved ones at the time. And sometimes we have to always have to keep that in mind. That's why that's a pivotal moment that I like to follow away, pivotal moments like that. because if I would have went to the box for that situation, I wouldn't have been able to see my nephew. And that was the first time I've ever held him.
And you wouldn't
have
had that moment.
I wouldn't have had that moment, bro. And while I was in visitation looking down at him, that's one of the things that played in my head. Like, man, I almost gave this up. Like holding my nephew for a situation that I could have communicated myself out of. And sometimes I think we don't understand that we all, no matter how much we've grown, we all susceptible to smell.
Absolutely. Hey, can I respond to that, though?
Go ahead. What's that?
Number one, I just got to point this out, though. And this is something I've noticed in the 20 years that I've been incarcerated. Dudes is looking and watching. I don't care what kind of substance somebody is under the influence in. I don't care. Drugs, alcohol, dope, it don't matter. These dudes in prison, they always looking and they always watching. They watching the dudes that's on the right path, that's on the right track, that's distancing themselves from the negativity and these damn energy vampires. So they seeing this. They watching you do what you do and walk your walk. They don't got no walk. They ain't got no purpose. They don't got nothing going on in their lives. So the only thing they can do is get in front of you in your lane and crash into you. So with us, especially coming up in a black community, we are hell bent. Like a big part of our culture is being reactionary. Like we always want to react to something. Being proactive, it's not even in our language. You know what I'm saying? Looking at a situation for what it is, understanding this is hostile or volatile, making the attempt to, before tempers even bubble up, to remove yourself from the situation, because we don't want to feel like a motherfucker marking us out. Excuse my language, but we don't want to feel like somebody is marking us out, like they pushing us out the way. So instead of us removing ourselves from this situation, what do? We stand our ground and we wait for the blow up. So that right there is something that is extremely elementary. But for some reason, we didn't adopt this part of the culture as real. And it's not. So as I go through the same thing here, as you're doing what you do and you on path, you've got to be on the lookout. You have to be like, and if you ever get tired of being on the lookout, that means you're not looking hard enough. That means you're not being proactive enough. And it's only a matter of time before you crash. And like that right there could have been a crash. Matter of fact, that right there could have went all the way south. And you know what I mean by that.
Exactly. Right.
Like, you got to understand that the universe, you got a past, bro. You just got a past. And I don't care what nobody's saying in prison. When you get into a fight, you are putting your life on the line. I got partners that have suffered brain hemorrhages for getting in fights on the yard, and they get shot. They got shot in the head with the block gun, shooting rubber balls. They done got their eyes knocked out. Just shot dead in the eye, jaw broke, jaw shattered. You know what I'm saying? Fractured collarbone from getting hit with these block guns. And this is from the COs. Let's say you had a punch dude and dude strapped. You could have got stabbed.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
Right.
There exists a possibility that you could have lost your life. So that's how I look at the situation.
I could have took one.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? You could have lost your life or you could have took one. That's how we have to walk. That's how we have to walk.
Either case, it's a lose.
Exactly. It's a lose-lose situation. And you got to be like, you know what, I'm a winner. I'm not even going to put myself in that position for any reason. So y'all can think what y'all want to think about me. I'll send you a package when I get home. I could be you want me to be. When I get out, I got you, bro.
I'm telling you. And you know, I want to add too as a footnote that
Okay.
I think no matter how much an individual invests in their own personal growth and their own change, that everybody can be placed in a position to be tempted like that. But it's how you respond to it is what matters. So it's like, just because you elevated mentally to a certain degree doesn't mean that none of these situations are coming your way like that. It's just how we respond to them that we have to keep in mind. And that's why I like to find pivotal moments like that away in my memory bank so I can refer back to them when the time arises. Because sometimes you have to think for these dudes around you if they ain't thinking for themselves. Because you know how you'll respond to it, regardless if they don't know about it. But you also know that you got others to think about. You got the loved ones to think about as well. Because you can go to the box, or you might not care if you get hurt or whatever the case may be, but you're going to be hurting others that care about you as well. And I think a lot of times when people put that into play for how they respond to situations, especially in a prison environment, I think a lot of situations can be communicated out of when we start thinking about the individuals who love us instead of thinking about all respect or what somebody said. Because now, majority of the altercations in prison come from what someone says.
Yep. Yeah, you hit that on the head right there. And dope.
Right. But
yeah.
and dope. Dope. But listen though, that's that was my pivotal moment, bro. And we kind of elaborated on that for a little minute. I want to hear what you got, bro, because I know you got a pivotal moment.
Okay, so this is how it go, right? This is how it go.
So get it to me. Get to him, man.
It really ain't all that, but it was an extreme breakthrough for me because so look, I get into it with somebody on the yard over one of my partners, right? So the cold part about it is it's the hypocrisy that I ended up being a part of because my partner was just as wrong as this dude, but I came to find this out later. So I go outside, I get into it with somebody else, behind somebody else. And you know what I'm saying? I was on my way to the yard, I found out some information, and by the time I hit the yard, I'm pumped. Boom. We go up, me and this dude. We get away, like I say, the yard ain't number 55 feet square. So it's like we in a hole on a little bitty yard, on a little bitty death row yard. When we get away, the gun rail, you don't even see nothing. You know what I'm saying? So I get away with it. I start playing basketball, play it off like nothing happened. I didn't broke my right ring finger. You know, I didn't pulled it back out, so I'm out there shooting the ball around like nothing happened. Because the police the CO ended up coming out there to the yard just to walk past for some reason. Bro goes to the back. He goes get him something to help him. He come approach me again. That don't work out too well for him. So this time, COs, they catch it. So they immediately hit the alarm, whistles on the yard. But now we squabbing right up on the gate. So it's not like on the regular yard to where, like, you know, the police, they just come out there and they can just spray you. Like, no, we are on a secluded yard away from everybody. So you have to be put in a sally port with handcuffs on, and then they take the handcuffs off of you for them to open up the gate for you to go to the yard. So we're not walking around without handcuffs. So we end up squabbling on this gate, and we get sprayed up. Boom. I end up going to the hole. Now, I get to the hole. 2 days later, they tell me I'm being charged with battery with a weapon. I said, okay. The whole time time in my mind, I'm like, how in the world am I being charged with battery with a weapon? I didn't stab nobody. I'm in the hole, sitting there chilling. 6 weeks go past. I done dropped like at least a month. I dropped 25 pounds real quick. So I go to my hearing. The lieutenant in my hearing did me just like this. He looked at me. He says, I know you. I said, huh? I said, yeah, man, I remember when you came to prison. I said, is that right? I said, yeah, you Contra Costa County. Was that 2007, right? I said, yeah. He said, yeah, I know who you are. He just looked at me. I said, oh, he's this dude in the bank. I'm already knowing. I'm like, I'm finna be stuck. So I said, all right. I said, man, well, if that's what we're doing, like, I legally want to object to you holding this hearing. He's like, nah, you can 602 it later. But I'm finna do this hearing. So we proceed with the hearing. He's like, well, how do you plead? Not guilty. He says, oh, what you plead not guilty for? I'm like, well, I say, I ain't stabbed nobody. He says, man, I can look at these dudes' injuries however I want to look at them. A weapon was found. He said, so if you ain't gonna cop to the weapon, and he ain't gonna cop to the weapon, y'all both getting charged with the weapon. He said, is that right? I said, yeah. I said, all right. That was the end of that. Now, my paperwork says that I would not be getting 115 because I ended up having a puncture wound in my shoulder that matched the weapon that was found. I'm not going to tell this dude that shit. I'm not going to say nothing to him about that. So fine, I go back to my cell.
Right.
Take a deep breath. And I say, okay, well, I'm going to spend some time in the hole. I got 18 months with halftime. And they took about 2 months off because it was my first offense like that. Now, this happened in May. It happened May 17th. In September of that year was my 10-year anniversary of being in prison. And I remember I was laying down in the cell, in the chute, in the adjustment center of death row, and it hit me out the blue. When I first got there, my partner told me, he said, look, as soon as I got from the hole to the regular unit of East Block, my partner told me, he said, look, whatever you do, find something that you're good at, and buckle down and do it. He said, don't get involved in none of this nonsense. Dope, gambling debts, don't do none of that. Whatever you're good at, do that. If you don't know what you're good at, find out what you're good at. Because if you don't, you're going to sit around here, you're going to blink your eyes, and 10 years going to fly past you, and you're going to panic. And you're going to wonder, what have I been doing? What am I doing? Then you're going to start thinking about how serious are these people about killing me. So when I was sitting in a hole with this charge that I didn't have nothing to do with, that turned into a pivotal moment for me because I had more than enough time to sit back and be alone with my thoughts and understand that 10 years had slid past me and I didn't see it. 10 full years gone. And I wasn't even paying attention. And that's what made me get serious about writing my book. Because it's something that I always wanted to do, but my mind was I was in my own way. I was completely in my own way. I thought that I needed to do at least, 20 to 25 years in prison before I had any insight to give anybody, before I even had a story to tell. So I'm telling myself that, man, you ain't got nothing to tell nobody. Who's you? Before you can sit down and put anything on paper. Being in the hole, that threw that away. That helped me get out my own way. And I said, you know what? Let me get on my chair. let me stand up and do what I know I'm supposed to be doing because this is what's been moving. This is where the energy comes from. Like, I want people to understand who I am, but I also want people to question who they are. I really want people, especially young people, especially people from the hood, especially poor folks, I want them to question the culture that they are a part of, that they live in and breathe in, and that they validate. They validate they are part of it. And making sure things flow the way they're flowing. But we all lose it. We all taking L's. We all don't like it. We all see it disrespectful. But we all pressing it. And that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to write this book. Because it don't make no sense that we chasing our own tail. And life is going on around us. Life is happening to us. We just chasing our own tail. And going to the hole, having that time to think, after the 10 years passed, like, that was my pivotal moment right there. I wanted to grab a hold on my whole life.
All right, and I wanna ask something real quick before we move on, because I know that's the pivotal moment right there. But before we move on, I want to ask, when you look back at the 10 years you've done now, from the 10 years when you first thought about this, do you feel like these past 10 years you've invested what you wanted to invest in yourself in these past 10 years? Like, do you feel like these past 10 years you made the changes that you felt like you needed to make to get to where you're trying to be?
Yes, I do. And I feel that I could have done a whole lot more. The problem kind of lies where I'm not kind of respecting my process. No, I'm not respecting my process when I say, well, you know what, I could have done more. However, I have done a lot since then. You know, I put up a website. Well, let me go back a little bit. While I was also in the hole, I got involved in this writing group. The writing group was facilitated by this mental health group. The thing about it was they wasn't trying to let certain people get inside this writing group because it was something that they were trying to save for people with like extreme issues. And I'm trying to talk to these people. I'm like, well, yeah, I got an extreme issue. I'm on death row. I'm in a hole, and I'm trying to keep my head on straight. Because I don't want to wait until I'm having a problem. I don't want to wait until I have a breakdown to ask y'all for some help. Once again, why not be proactive instead of reactive? So, after me basically having to argue to get inside this group, I finally got inside of it, and it was when I got out the hole that they were actually running the group in the unit that I was in. So, inside of this group, we were doing all these they taught us how to write different forms of poetry, doing free writes, prose, all kind of stuff like that. That right there just helped me get my pen flowing. It really helped me get my pen flowing. It had me, questioning myself, questioning my life once again. And now I'm continuously looking back at these 10 years that I spent wasted, and I'm looking to the future like, hey, I need to propel myself into the future with some real energy. And one of the things that really helped me come along in this process was we did an anonymous writing project with some college university. So the dude that was facilitating the mental health group, his friend was some college professor. So there was an anonymous class that we did with them. It was a project called If You Really Knew Me. And in the process of me doing this class, though these people didn't know my name, who I was, they still gave feedback to the number that your paper was numbered. So I got a lot of feedback on this paper. And I let them know that, one of my aspirations was to write a book. And a lot of people that really liked what I wrote. There's a lot of people that wrote, yes, you should definitely write this book because of your insight and the way that you write. I like the writing style. So that right there, that really like lit the fire up under me to where it's like, okay. Yeah, I'm kind of, I want to say that again, bro.
I see the like it's just listening to. Now I was saying the elevation, like over the years, like you kind of like know yourself. Like I see the elevation again, especially when you get involved with certain programs, things like that. I wanted to ask, like, have you ever? So yeah, I'm sitting here listening, bro, to like everything that's been going on since from the time you came to prison up to that 10-year pivotal moment mark, again up until the 10 years after that. You like kind of like got into the motion of the change of this evolution that was going on inside you, and I wanted to ask, like, has there ever been moments where you have been asked like to speak somewhere or got interviewed for something? Because obviously you took part in programs that helped with change, or programs that not only helped yourself but possibly helped others as well. So, being that you was using your writing to transform others as well as transform yourself, have you ever been offered opportunities to like speak or get interviewed? Because I know a lot of guys in your position or inmates in general, sometimes people are interested in what we have to say. But have you ever been like stepped to about that?
Okay, so the two different times that I have been approached and given a platform. Well, one time first time I was approached, second time I approached someone myself. I've approached many different people before, but for whatever reason, the university just didn't allow our paths to cross. The first time I did it was somebody that I know on death row. He introduced me to somebody. He said, you know what, look, you know what I'm saying? I know you're writing. I know you're trying to get your book out there. I know you got your head on straight. You would be perfect for this podcast that my partner got going on. I hopped on it. So I introduced myself to dude, and I was talking to him. I said, you know what, hey man, this is what I'm doing. This is what I got going on. Tell me a little bit about yourself. So I gave him a rundown on me. And I asked him, I said, like, you know, like, what are you interested in? And the dude told me straight up, this is how I knew it was going to be bad. He said, man, I'm interested in money. He said straight up, man, I don't care what you went there for. I don't care what you did. He said, man, I'm just interested in money and to get my podcast pumping. I say, look, if that's what you about, that's what you about. I get that. But what I'm telling you is this, I'm not going to get on here, get on your podcast talking crazy. I said, I'm not one of them guys. I said, bro, I'm not proud of what I'm in prison for. I'm not looking to speak ill on nobody, especially on nobody that's deceased. This isn't, like I say, this is my life. This is a hobby. This is a fun and game. So if I'm going to be part of your podcast, you need to understand that, like, this is really who I am. Like, this ain't no act. Like, I want to put myself out there. I want to introduce myself to the world, and I want to let them know who I am. He said, okay, fine, that's cool. I get that. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to try to get you to do anything that you don't want to do. He said, man, if that's who you are, and that's what you stand on, fine. Oh, so I do a podcast one time. He liked it. You know what I'm saying? The audio wasn't all that. I got a chance to hear it back later, but the audio wasn't all that. But, you know, quite a few people got a chance to hear it, and, you know, quite a few people I knew tapped in like, hey, you know, I heard your podcast. Like, okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, they gave you a salute. So when I called Bro back again to be on this podcast again, like, what's going on? He's like, yeah, man, you know, I was really trying to get on there with some of those serial killers, man. I said, what? Like, yeah, man, I'm not really, you know, this reformed prisoner stuff. Like, man, that's not really my angle right there. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know. You start naming all these notable serial killers. I said, bro, that's not going to work. So this is where our paths, like, they go in separate directions. Like, you know what? Appreciate you, have a nice life. That ended that right there. So that didn't work because that was not who I was supposed to be around. I wasn't supposed to be nowhere around nobody like that. The second time, when I reached out to somebody who was a female, and I was interacting with her, and I'm trying to build up something with her, she's interested in things that, once again, like, I'm not interested in talking about. I don't want to talk about the gossip in the prison. I don't want to talk about, all the stuff that's gonna make people tune in. The reality TV prison talk stuff, I'm not trying to do that. It contradicts who I am. But that's what she wanted. So even though we did a couple episodes together, once again I realized that, this is not what I'm supposed to be. That's 2 times that didn't work out. So that's why after me and you talked, got a chance to kick it, really start like kick some ideas back and forth, really start building with each other, I realized the whole reason why I never had a chance to really lock in with them is because I wasn't supposed to, and that's what got me ready for this right here. So the only time I've had a speaking engagement was those 2 times and this time right here. Other than that, I've written different colleges and participated in, let's say, pimped out correspondence classes where, once again, it's anonymous and they're dealing with the class and they get information about prison life. Like, they don't know who they're dealing with. The only person who knows who they're dealing with is the professor. So I've done that a few times, but it's always been anonymous. And anonymous wasn't my choice; it's their choice. And I don't have a problem with that as long as the information is out there, because you can change hearts and minds wherever you at, however you do it. As long as they don't have to know who they're getting information from, as long as they understand that, hey, this dude is in prison. He is incarcerated for this, that, and that. Like, okay, this is his process. This is his growth. This is his development, and this is who he is now. So that lets you know right there, like, some people do deserve a second chance in life. And that's the biggest mindset that I have, because like, all of us behind these walls, we ain't on no stupid stuff. There's many of us behind these walls that do not want to be here any longer, yet understand that punishment is warranted. So this podcast right here, like, this is it for me. Like, I'm not going nowhere else. They want to talk to me. They don't have to come over here and talk to me over here. But yeah, this is it right here.
Right. What the dude was telling you about, he want to talk to some serial killers, and he want to, and that kind of reflects the mentality not as a whole, but somewhat majority. The majority, mental wise.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
What society be looking for as far as when it comes to what they want to talk about. Like, it's crazy that he outright can say it, because in the sense that is what a lot of them be looking for. Like, they would rather hear something entertaining than the truth, or something that's elevating. They'll put that to the side to get something that'll have them like on the edge of their seat, like locked in on something that's probably negative, or something that's not doing no type of reconstruction to their mentality, or to our culture, or to our society as a whole. So it's like, it's crazy that you mentioned that, because I remember you saying something too about how we need to change the narrative as a culture. You were speaking on that earlier, but I agree with that. Absolutely. Yeah. So it's kind of like, it's crazy that that's the narrative that's pushed these days, as far as like entertaining rather than something that's reforming. Now, it's okay to like to chill, keep the boo or whatever you want to call it. It's okay to do that sometimes, but when you're talking about, like, when this dude talk about, or whoever, cannot just singling him out, but when you got somebody who rather listen to something that involves real people's lives for entertainment purposes, and that's it, and no type of change, no type of reflection, just entertainment purposes, then I think we got a problem socially. So I think we need to normalize and change the narrative to reforming not only what's going on with incarceration or what's going on the inside, but reforming our thought process as well. Because there's a lot of stuff that's going on internally with us as a whole, as a society, that we need to reflect on. And we ain't going to start reflecting on it, changing, until we change the narrative on what we feed our minds and how we get. I agree. Completely. Right. Yeah. But, it's been on my mind for the past, like, I want to say 20 minutes since you brought it up. So I'm going to get into it. It's been on my mind, but I'm going to get into this segment we call, this is the first episode of our podcast. So I'm introducing these segments so everybody knows what's going on. So each references, when you hear, you already know what to expect. Excuse me. This segment is called Pivotal Agenda. Now, this segment kind of like shouts out or gives credit to the individuals who got something going on, whether incarcerated or not. But of course, it will have something to do or involve what's going on in here. But this Pivotal Agenda segment is, I want to talk about, somebody who has a book out. And, they wrote this book from a very difficult place, which is in prison. And I don't think people understand how difficult it is at times to put the energy and time and effort into the art and literature, especially from this environment, then get your voice out there. I think people don't understand how difficult that is. But this person still finds a way to do it. So I think it's only right to have this first Pivotal Agenda segment going to you, bro, D. Alexander Hamilton. So, go give me something. First off, tell me the title of the book.
Okay, so, and you know what, thank you. I appreciate that too, you know what I'm saying? You definitely tied me into that one. I seen it coming, but I didn't see it coming, so, I'm gonna give you a nod to that. So, my name is Alexander Rashad Hamilton. Alexander Hamilton, that's my actual name. The title of the book is The Black Hamilton. The book comes from me wanting to take control. Say it again?
No, I was going. You already kind of getting into it. I was going to ask you what made you decide to author a book.
Okay, so what made me author a book was me wanting to take control of my narrative. Because a story was already told upon who I was, stemming from the fact that I have a death penalty case. So, when you have a death penalty case, like, there's two parts to your trial. You got the not guilty verdict, and then you got you're either going to get a death sentence or life without the possibility of parole. The problem that I had with my trial was the fact that these people were sitting there talking about me as if they truly knew who I was. As if they truly knew what I was thinking, when I was thinking, at every point and juncture in my life that's recorded on paper. They had full control of the narrative pertaining to my life. And it was all considered facts. There was nothing that I could do to represent myself in another life. So these people that took my life on paper and sold this story to this jury as if this is who I was. And I always objected to that. Mentally, I've always objected like this is not who I am. Yes, I'm guilty for my crimes against humanity. Yes, I took a life out of the crime against humanity. I'm not going to water that down. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. However, I was still uncomfortable with how I was depicted. So one of the first things I wanted to do was change who I was. And in the process of me changing, like, that also opened up my mind to writing this book. Even though I still have voices in the back of my head telling me, oh man, you don't know what you're talking about. You can't do that. Like, you ain't been down long enough. But this is always in the back of my mind because, like, I want to have full control over my narrative, and I want to tell you who I am. And I want you to be able to investigate yourself. I feel if you don't, no investigation, no right to speak. If you're not going to investigate who I am, if you're not going to take your time to have some direct interactions or conversations with me, keep your opinion to yourself. Keep it to yourself. Because if you only don't pay attention to court transcripts and you think that's me, I don't feel that that's a correct assessment of who I am. So when I started putting these words on paper, it was me also wanting to share the things that I found out about myself in the process. Because kids, yes, 18-year-old, that's a kid. Kids don't pick up guns and shoot instantaneously. That's a whole domestication process right there. That's a whole, better word would be desensitization. You got to desensitize yourself to get to that point. Like, that's a long process to feel comfortable holding a gun, having a gun, doing something with this gun, and then pulling the trigger on a gun. That does not happen overnight. And that's why I started writing this book, because it's like, we need to understand that this is what's going on. Like, this is a long process. This indoctrination process, because we have been indoctrinated. It's a long process. This stuff did not just start. We just keep throwing ourselves in this machine. We're throwing ourselves in this whirlwind, and no fruit is coming out of it. Like, nothing is coming. It's like the tree is dead. It's uprooted. All the fruit on the tree is rotten. But we still trying to water this tree. We still praying to this tree. We still representing this tree. Ain't nothing coming off of it. You know what I'm saying? So,
and before I get into this next question, go ahead. No, I was just saying, like, my bad to interrupt, but before I get into this next question, like, I want to, because you spoke about it a lot throughout this episode, and I wanted to resonate with a lot of our listeners the fact that you address accountability. And a lot of times when guys are in your situation, or even my situation, like, sometimes they try to flip the role to play the victim like there never was a victim. And the thing that should resonate with listeners is your accountability. But what also should resonate with them is your rehabilitation. And that's why it's called corrections, because you come to be corrected, even though the system has a funny way of showing like that they actually take part in that correction. But the fact that you went out your way and invested your own energy into your own rehabilitation shows your growth, and it shows the shift, your perspectives, and the change that you invested in yourself over the years, 2 decades exact. So that's something I feel like needs to be resonated with the listeners. Accountability, because a lot of times that's something that people kind of shift away from when they in here, but incarcerated man or whatever, they kind of shift away from accountability, try to play the victim role like it wasn't a victim. But the thing I like is that you spoke about a lot is accountability, but you also spoke about and showed the whole rehabilitation. That's something that should resonate.
absolutely. I appreciate that. And, absolutely.
Right.
Let's just keep it real. Just keep it real. We know what we be doing.
Right.
We know when we wrong. But if you want to accept that victim mentality, you're going to accept a victim's reality as well. You know what I'm saying? If that's what you want to be, okay, fine. But you turn the whole world against you. When you the one, that's fine. But you turn the whole world against you because you look at yourself as if you're a victim. But you're the one that's out of pocket. So yeah, I'm fully accountable for my actions. I'm not blaming nobody for nothing. I'm not blaming my upbringing, childhood, anything I've been through. No, this is on me. Period.
And at the camera, yeah, and I like that, bro. That's again accountability when you're saying that you don't blame nobody but yourself. But like it's a lot of things you can look back on, like childhood upbringing, what growing up with, and sometimes like it plays a part in our upbringing, in the molding of our personality and our character. But ultimately, we all make our own choices. And that's what I love about how you express that when you talk about accountability. But moving on, because we'll be on this all night. How we'll go back and forth, and there'll be like 2 hours before we go on to the next subject. So, what is your ultimate goal with respect to your writing?
I want people to open up their minds and consider what they're doing. Consider what they're playing a part in. I want people to really understand what education is. And to truly understand what education is, first, you got to understand that, especially when you're coming up in the hood, coming up in the inner city, coming up poor, like the schools that you go to, you are not being educated. We are being indoctrinated, period. You can't educate nobody without teaching them about themselves. You can't educate nobody without teaching them morals, teaching them about principles. You can't educate somebody if you are not getting them ready to succeed inside of the society that they come from. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you can't take a little Chinese kid, put him in a white community, and you teach him about everything European. You know what I'm saying? Everything Caucasian. Let's say you even teach him a little bit about Black history. You ain't taught this Chinese kid nothing about his history, who he is, where his people come from. You can't educate that. You can't educate that child. But what you can do is you can teach him how to assimilate into somebody else's program. But you're not educating him. You're not getting him ready for life. And I want people to read my book and really look at their kids, really look at their brothers, their sisters, and their mamas and their daddies. Hey, are we really preparing one another to get ready for life? Are we sending our kids to these schools to regurgitate this information? Or are we sending our kids to these schools to better themselves and come out of school looking to attain some sort of power and influence in the community that they come from? Are we sending our kids to these schools to get these great education so they can become teachers and become professors, or go teach other kids that have already been living a life of luxury their whole life? Like, what are we teaching? My ultimate goal is to get people, particularly my people, to wake up and really consider what they're playing a part in, what they're respecting, what they're validating with their actions. If you're cool with it, okay, I'm cool with it. But if you feel that there's a problem in anything around you, I want you to be an active participant and be in the change that you wish to see. You know what I'm saying? Just think of some of the quotes that we have. Think of some of the quotes that we have in the hood, like, ain't no fun if the homies can't have none. Bro, do you understand how weird that is?
Right.
You understand what you're saying? Like, that's not
going back to changing that narrative.
Proud of. You feel what I'm saying? So it's like, when you look at things like that, like we use all these sayings and we got all this stuff, like, you know what I'm saying? It just don't add up no more. I mean, it never added up in the first spot. It was the culture. So I want my folks to question the culture and change it. You live it, you breathe it,
That's your ultimate goal.
That's my ultimate goal right there. Educate yourself and question this culture to change it.
Yeah.
Educate your people and question this culture to change it.
You know, that's what you're saying is basically where the true riches really lie. Like, change themselves. Because once we start within, everything external will start shifting towards that ultimate goal that you're talking about. But speaking of riches, that leads me to my next question. Does monetary success matter?
Monetary success, does that matter?
Does it matter?
I'm gonna keep it real, bro. If 100 people can tell, if 100 people told me, and then, you know, I read your book, I loved it, I felt it to my core. Thank you. If 100 people told me that, that's gonna do it for me right there, bro. That's gonna do it for me right there. I don't even care about the money. I just want to know that somebody helped me and understand where I'm coming from. If I could plant a seed in 100 people, what kind of seed do you think they could plant in somebody? I don't have to be around to see it. This could take 100 years to happen. I don't have to be around to see it.
As long as it was planted.
But just knowing, exactly, you know what I'm saying? Just knowing that there's a great possibility that 100 could turn into 1,000. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not telling nobody to do nothing negative. All I'm saying, educate your people on everything. Just like we could take some time and send our folks all these little reels on Instagram. You could also send them some knowledge on Instagram. You could also send them some knowledge on something you've been watching on YouTube. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
Financial literacy, emotional intelligence. You know what I'm saying? How to really build a community. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I'm at with it. Like, I don't care about the monetary success. That's not gonna make me feel no way. But it's gonna make me feel some way if somebody tells me, like, hey, bro, I really felt you. You know what I'm saying? When the next one coming out, that's gonna make me feel something.
Right. And I think what a lot of people need to understand too is when you're dealing with individuals who are incarcerated, like especially the ones who have done the work to educate themselves, who have done the work to elevate their mentality, and who have done the work to heal. Like when you're in a position where you snatched away from everything, and all you have is yourself, it causes you to come to a point where you realize what's really important in life. So it's understandable that what you're saying about monetary success, because out there in the world, like we understand that money is needed we understand that it's needed to take care of family and to survive. But when you're in a place where, like, you basically stripped of everything, and then you just got yourself. Now, of course, you put yourself in a position to make money in here as well, but there are also times where you just basically have yourself in the room. That's it. Like, police took everything from you, just got you in this room, and all you got is your thoughts, your past, your present, your mistakes, your failures, your successes. You got all this going on in your head, and you realize what really matters. And what really matters, exactly. That's it. I got one more question to close out this pivotal agenda segment, because you gave us a lot to think about too with these questions, man. I know this book is a must read. But this one last question is: who is your target audience? Who is your target audience And what do you hope to achieve within that audience?
Anybody out there struggling. But at the top of the list, I gotta put black folks. I gotta put black folks. Also, you know what I'm saying? Because when I wrote this book, it's the main people I was thinking about. My people. Like, these are the people who I was envisioning, like, reading my book, sitting down with their kids, sitting down with their brother or their sister, like, having some college kids, you know what I'm saying, having a study group, and they reading the Black Hamilton. Yeah. Yeah,
that's real,
like
right?
Books. Yeah. Simply put,
That's real.
I know that's not I know a lot of people wouldn't have said that because they feel like I'm limiting myself, but I don't, because it's the truth, bro. When I wrote this book, I was thinking about you and people that look like you, bro. Straight up. But at this very same time,
Sure.
if you come from the same struggle, you're gonna feel me. You're gonna feel where I'm coming from. No matter what color you is, no matter what background you are, no matter what your ethnicity is, if you come from this struggle, you're gonna feel me. But I was definitely talking to my people when I wrote this book. Just as well, I was talking to myself.
I like that you say that too, bro, because it's like, you put it out there that it's aimed it at your people or at our people, but it's also for everybody. Like, it's for people to empathize with. Anybody who comes from that struggle or who can recognize the struggle within your words, they can empathize with what you're saying no matter what race you is. So I like that.
Absolutely.
It's been a good, insightful episode, bro. Like, this has been a good episode. First episode, Pivotal Perspective Podcast, man. It's been good, bro. How you feel about it?
Oh, you know what? I'm juiced about the next one already. I like it. I feel that, because, look, initially, I had the mindset to, you know, make sure that my words were perfect and don't say and the. But then again, I'm like,
Right.
I want these people to be like a fly on the wall. That's what this podcast is. Like a fly on the wall, as we you know, we kick our science, we kick our knowledge back and forth. Yeah, we talking to the people, but at the same time, well, these are real conversations that we are having amongst ourselves.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
yeah, we're supposed to stumble up and trip up and say certain words that we say over and over, and like this and like that. Yeah, that's how.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And it's crazy because, like,
that's how we talk.
Like you say, it's like society being a fly on the wall, and like what they should understand is, like, a lot of the stuff we talk about, even what we
This
talk
call
about
and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
A lot of the conversations between individuals and they'll open up like that. Like, even if it's dependent, no matter if they like, they've done the work emotionally, mentally, to elevate themselves. It's like everybody has a way to approach conversations in here, and the majority of the time, it opens like that. Like, first getting to know each other, and then you get into y'all beliefs and then y'all perspective on things, and it's like you kind of want to give society insight on what that's like, but also give them insight on our perspective on what's going on in here, what's going on out there, from the perspective of incarcerated men. So, yeah, this is something right here, man. Like I said earlier, man, it's not just the conversation; it's a historic collaboration because we give a society a view into our perspectives from the inside. Feel me? What
man, I feel you 100%, and I like that.
Right.
An historic collaboration. Yes, that's. Yeah, we're gonna make sure we're gonna have to remind the people every time, every episode. Make sure we kick that reminder out there. An historic collaboration.
Historic collaboration, right here, man.
Yeah, bro.
Right.
But you know what, Marcus? I'm gonna keep it real with you, bro. Like, it has been a good one. It's been a great one. But I do feel that it's about time for it to be over for the day. You know what I'm saying? It's time for the call of the day. The next time we meet, we'll guarantee to give the people some more pivotal perspectives.
Reclaiming humanity, one episode at a time.